take our seats, please. So, my apologies for our delayed beginning. The Prime Minister, despite being in lockdown at the Lodge, is still conducting the business of state. So he's in a Zoom cabinet meeting, and he's running about half an hour late. So we're going to get started. Now we've given you a chance to get a drink and some canapes, and we'll do the video messages from the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs from the UAE and my co-chair, Badr Al-Olama, and then hopefully by then the Prime Minister will be in place and we'll be able to do the official launch. So I will recognise the Prime Minister in his absence, and also His Excellency Dr. Anwar Mohammed Gargash, who's the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs from the United Arab Emirates, His Excellency Badr Al-Olama, who is the co-chair of the Australia UAE Business Council and the CEO of Aerospace in Badr, and those of you who are familiar with the Emirates will know that's a very important position. His Excellency Abdulla Al-Subousi, who is our ambassador from the UAE in Australia. And can I say, in recognising the Emirati representatives, how tremendously supportive the Emirati government has been of the Australia UAE Business Council. It was an idea that I put to the ambassador late last year. In April, we really got underway, and we can't believe how much we have, how far we've come in such a short space of time, and that's really because of the support we've had at the Emirati side, and so thank you very much to our Emirati friends. Members of the advisory board that are here, of course, His Excellency Ellie May Saffron, from May Saffron, who is here as a member of the advisory board of the council, David Ruff, who's the CEO of Babcock here in Australia, Badr Al-Olama is the co-chair, and Jamie Levy, who I'm sure is joining us virtually from ADIO in the Emirates, is also a member of the advisory board. We have from DFAT, Justin McGowan, who's here in person, who's running our Expo pavilion back in Abu Dhabi, which I, of course, committed the Australian government to back in when I was a minister, not realising it was quite so expensive. And then promptly agreed to pay for it when I discovered how much it was, when Julie Bishop expressed some alarm how much it was going to cost. And representatives of DFAT back into the Emirates, Ian Halliday from Austrade, and Julie Shams, who is the Charge d'Affaires representing the ambassador to the UAE from Australia, Heidi Venamore, who can't be with us today. Can I thank our host, Adrian Temple, and Loretta Reynolds. Thank you very much for having us here in Thompson Gear in Sydney. Thompson Gear with offices in all the major capital cities, and the 10th, probably the 9th largest law firm in Australia, still headquartered in Adelaide, and Adrian Temple is still the CEO, headquartered in Adelaide. It's a great success story, and thank you very much for having us here in this magnificent setting. For those of you who are interested, of course, we have an LHD, a supply ship, an AWD, and an ANZAC sitting at Garden Island, all of which I recognised as soon as I walked into the room. My fellow founder of the Oz UABC, Adam Howard, and my business partner, who has flown over from Adelaide to be here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for attending. We've gone from 3 members a month ago to 13 as of today, which is tremendously exciting. And that's not counting those who've committed to joining and are yet to pay. So those of you who've committed to join and not yet paid, get on and pay and become full members of the Oz UABC. Why the Australia UAE Business Council? Well, when I was a minister in the government, I travelled to the UAE very often because we have a couple of military bases in the UAE. Our Middle East Command is there, and our base for air activities is in the UAE. And it surprised me how many times I was going to the UAE and there was no Australia UAE Business Council. And there's business councils with obviously Israel, obviously AmCham, of which I'm a governor, and many, many other countries around the world that aren't nearly as significant economically. And of course, the UAE in Australia is not well known as being such an important economic partner. There's a 70% chance if you're eating in a UAE hotel that you are eating Australian produce, because we supply so much of their fresh food to the UAE. We provide the UAE with tremendous resources that they don't have themselves, and services. Architects, lawyers, accountants are very prevalent across the UAE from Australia. These are things that are not well known. I mean, the UAE back into Australia is the second largest owner of hotels in this country, and yet no one realises that. Tonight, we signed a memorandum of understanding between Tribe and Masdar for waste-to-energy production in Australia, based in Perth, but also headquarters here in Sydney. There are many economic opportunities, and that's before I even started on the defence industry, where the Crown Prince of the UAE, Mohammed bin Salman Al Nahyan, is very keen on promoting the Australian, the United Arab Emirates defence industry, but using Australian know-how and capabilities like electro-optic systems back into the UAE and across the Middle East. It's our largest trading partner in the Middle East, even greater than Israel, and yet most Australians wouldn't know that. It's a classic example of people acting but not promoting the good work that they're doing. So we're very excited to have established the Australia UAE Business Council and to have enjoyed so much support tonight for this launch. We had a dinner at the Ambassador's residence with the new Parliamentary Friendship Group, which was created in the last few months with the support of the Embassy, with the Australia UAE Business Council. If it wasn't for COVID, I'm sure there would have been a great deal more activity back and forth between our two countries. Our plan is to do a number of things. When there are visiting figures of influence from the Emirates, to provide an opportunity for our members to join them in lunches or dinners, events, to do similarly back into the UAE for Australian figures of influence who are visiting there, to take delegations back to the UAE from Australia and from the UAE to Australia, to be a point of reference for business from the Emirates to Australia and from Australia back to the Emirates. Next year, God willing, if the Expo goes ahead on schedule, which has been obviously moved back, there will be a clear reason for us to take a delegation of Australians back to the Expo to be part of the Abu Dhabi World Expo. So it's a classic business council, but it's not member-based in the sense that we're looking for a wide membership. It's based on business and mukhrajat, which in Arabic means outcomes. How did I go, Majid? We want outcomes. Yossi would call it takhlas. In Arabic, we'd call it mukhrajat. In Australia, we would say that we want real outcomes, not just lots of talk. And if we can achieve business activity, then we have achieved our objectives. Now, for this evening, the Prime Minister is launching the event. As I believe he is still running late, and I haven't had a word that he's not, we will go to the videos from Dr. Anwar Mohammed Gargash, who is the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs in the UAE, and then the video from Badr Al-Olama, who is the head of the co-chair back in the Emirates, and then hopefully by then the Prime Minister will be ready. Otherwise, I'll do a soft shoe shuffle, or maybe take some Q&A. I'm sure I'll find a way to fill in. So, can we shift to the video from His Excellency?
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to address such a distinguished audience. I would like to start by thanking the Australia UAE Business Council and its co-chairs, the Honourable Christopher Pyne and His Excellency Badr Al-Olama, as well as all the individuals who, despite very challenging circumstances, have made this event possible. I'd also like to convey greetings from His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi and Deputy Supreme Commander of the UAE Armed Forces, and express his deepest gratitude for the presence today of the Honourable Scott Morrison, Prime Minister of Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, since the establishment of diplomatic relations in 1975, the UAE and Australia have been bound together by strong and long-standing ties, ranging from trade, tourism, investments, and culture, to people contacts, ultimately leading to mutual benefits for both our nations. Both countries are strong political, economic, and military partners. Australia is one of the region's most important economies, given its trade, natural resources, and dynamic human resources. While the UAE is the main trade gateway to the Middle East and an active international economic hub between Asia, Africa, and Europe, our bilateral economic relationship is significant and multifaceted. The UAE is Australia's largest trading partner in the Middle East, as well as one of the largest investors in Australia. The total volume of non-oil trade exchange between the two countries reached nearly $4 billion in 2019. In 2019, more than 316,000 Australian tourists visited the UAE, and 37 Emiratis visited Australia. In addition, the UAE hosts more than 15,000 Australian residents who make valuable contribution to the UAE society and economy, as well as cross-cultural exchanges between our two people. Prior to the pandemic, Emirates Airlines and Etihad Airways operated up to 116 weekly flights on a regular basis between the two countries. We are certain that once the pandemic subsides, this connectivity will return to its normal frequency, with the possibility of increasing numbers due to our commitment to further our economic cooperation. Ladies and gentlemen, the coronavirus pandemic has affected the world's economies, including the Arab region, adding a significant burden to an already challenging regional situation. This pandemic is a global crisis that requires coordinated international response and cooperation. Nevertheless, thanks to the effort of the frontline health workers, government officials, technological advancements, and societal cooperation, the UAE has been able to limit the spread of the virus, using science as its guideline and using a very extensive policy of tests and tracing. At the same time, the UAE has been able to provide equal access to treatment for everyone infected, implementing unprecedented measures to protect its citizens as well as residents in the UAE. Furthermore, as I mentioned, we have been a pioneer in the number of tests that we have conducted, and that has helped us immensely in addressing the pandemic and keeping the correct balance between what the economy needs and what the health situation dictates. In this context, I would like to welcome the decision to inaugurate this Business Council, despite the pandemic, and express my deep gratitude for the large presence of major companies on both sides. I truly believe that this Council will accelerate the growth of our economic cooperation in the years to come, as well as enhance investment and trade exchange. Last, but by no means least, I would like to emphasize that both our countries must continue to deepen cooperation, including in various sectors such as aviation, tourism, technology, agriculture, education, and health. This will be key to ensuring the post-coronavirus economic growth and recovery for both countries and indeed the world.
Thank you, Honorable Christopher Pyne. for your kind words and introduction. The Honourable Scott Morrison, Prime Minister of Australia, Your Excellency Dr. Anwar Gargash, UAE Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Your Excellency Abdulla Subousi, UAE Ambassador to Australia, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning from the United Arab Emirates and good afternoon to you all in Australia. It gives me great pleasure to participate at what must be the first augmented inauguration of a business council. Establishing an Australia UAE Business Council has long been overdue, since our two great nations have been great allies and great friends over the many years. The depth and breadth of this long-standing relationship is demonstrated by the standing of the UAE as Australia's largest trading partner in the Middle East, and the appeal of Australia as one of the top real estate investment destinations for the UAE. And yet, both countries still have so much more to offer each other. Through the Business Council, we aim to reinforce and cement this strategic partnership at the highest levels of business and government. We aim to promote the sharing of resources, expertise, and knowledge. We will strengthen the collaboration and cooperation between existing and new members, and we will work relentlessly to grow and develop the bilateral trade and investment relationship that was built over the many decades. This is the commitment that I have vowed to fulfill alongside my Honourable Co-Chair, Christopher Pyne. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the United Arab Emirates has made remarkable strides in building a diversified economy grounded on the principles of nurturing trust, talent, and partnerships. As a young country that will be celebrating its 50th anniversary next year, we have doubled down on technology and innovation to become one of the most forward-thinking and fastest-growing economies in the world. Achieving such a feat came with many challenges and with the anticipation of a post-oil era that will completely change the course of our world. Therefore, we have embarked on an exciting journey towards the next 50 years of development, planning well in advance for a resilient, sustainable, and prosperous future. With such big ambitions come many opportunities, and we will most definitely look to our partner, our ally, and our friends in Australia to join us on this forward-looking mission. Thank you all for joining us today and for taking part in this historic occasion. With your commitment and your contribution, the Australia UAE Business Council will remain determined to enrich our discussions, elevate our friendship, and enhance our partnerships.
Well, thank you to both His Excellency Dr. Gargash and to Badr Al-Olama. One of the things that the Council intends to do, and we have begun a month or so ago, was a series of webinars and a series of working groups based on the Australia-UK Council with the UAE. The first one was on foreign investment, the Foreign Investment Review Board, particularly, and the changes that the government had announced, and the welcoming of foreign investment into Australia from the UAE. And Michael Sukar, the Assistant Treasurer, spoke at that on behalf of Australia. We intend to have working groups on food security, on infrastructure, advanced manufacturing, and tourism and sport as an industry. And you'll hear more about that over the course of the next few months as we plan new webinars and new working groups and activities on their behalf. I think in a couple of weeks, in a couple of weeks, we've got an international leadership dialogue, a collaboration on the UAE and Israel and the Abraham Accords between Israel and the UAE and Israel and other countries like Bahrain and the Sudan, which is being sponsored by the International Leadership Dialogue, which Yossi Tal and I have been members of for a long time, and the Oz UABC is partnering with them to collaborate, and you'll get an invitation to that as well in the next week once this launch is underway. The Prime Minister is not yet ready. No doubt they're making important decisions in Cabinet, and that's not our fault, not his fault either. So I won't go to His Excellency. He'll speak after the Prime Minister. So please go back to your drinks and canapes and having a chat with each other. As soon as the Prime Minister is ready, we will go straight to him and hopefully have lots of interesting things to say. Thank you very much for your attention so far. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could take your seats, please. Adrian, you're welcome to sit with that table if you like. Anyone who is looking for a seat, please take your seat. So the Prime Minister is with us now in Canberra, and no doubt he's been doing important things, so we forgive him being late, because that's what it's like in Canberra, and we're very lucky to have him to launch the Australia UAE Business Council. It's an indication of how seriously the government of Australia and the Prime Minister takes our relationship with the UAE. As I said before, we have servicemen and women there in the Emirates, as well as significant business interests. I'm delighted that the Prime Minister has agreed to officially launch the Australia UAE BC. I'm also pleased that when His Royal Highness Mohammed bin Salman Al Nahyan visits Australia, we'll do another launch with him in person, but I'm hoping that when I finish and say, without any further ado, the Prime Minister, we will seamlessly transition to him. So please welcome the Prime Minister of Australia, Scott Morrison. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Christopher, and my apologies to all of those who are assembled there. We've had a very lengthy cabinet meeting today, and I've literally just walked out of that, and we've just concluded there. And I thank you for your patience as we prepare for this last sitting fortnight. There, as Christopher will well recall, there is a lot of business to get through at this end of the year, and in preparations for that next sitting fortnight, which begins next week. There are some very urgent issues we had to attend to, and there's no shortage of things going on in our world today, which you will all be as familiar with as I am. So good evening, everyone, and I'm really delighted to be with you, even though it's virtually. I wish I could have been there with you personally. That was my original intention when my good friend Christopher invited me to be part of this. It was straight away, I think, Christopher, I agreed to do it because I understand the importance of this relationship, and I'm very pleased to be able to be here, even if it is from, as we call it, ISO. ISO has become known this year as the Australian Dictionary Word of the Year, apparently. And so I think that says quite a lot about 2020, that such a word would define a whole year here in Australia. Can I begin by acknowledging the traditional owners on the land where I'm meeting tonight, where I am in Canberra, the Ngunnawal people, and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. And can I also acknowledge, as my custom, any members of the Australian Defence Force, personnel or indeed veterans, importantly, who have joined us today. As Christopher just said, there are many who serve in our Defence Forces in the Emirates, and just simply say to them, particularly at this time, thank you on behalf of a grateful nation for your outstanding service to our country. Can I, of course, acknowledge your co-chairs, His Excellency, Badr Al-Olama, and of course, someone who I would love to be known as His Excellency, Christopher Pyne, but we'll just know him as the Honourable Christopher Pyne, and indeed he is, who together are the driving force behind this new Australia UAE Business Council. I also recognise the presidents of His Excellency, Abdulla Subousi, the UAE Ambassador to Australia. There's a saying that when trouble strikes, you find out who your true friends really are. Christopher and I know that very well. And trouble has certainly struck this year. And through it all, the United Arab Emirates has shown itself to be a true friend of Australia. When bushfires were raging over the Black Summer, we were so grateful for the UAE's support. A message of solidarity was projected onto the world's tallest building, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. And there was a practical support as well, even a fundraising appeal, fittingly called Mates Help Mates, all making a difference, but the message it sent even more special. Of course, this year hasn't got any easier. COVID-19 has been a calamity for the world, a global health crisis and a global economic crisis. I described COVID-19 as being akin to an economic meteor hitting the global economy. Yet in these most trying of times, Australia and the UAE have responded well. We've successfully limited the spread of the virus, and we have strengthened our economies to respond and absorb that shock to cushion the blow. Still, the human and economic toll has been severe, and the way back will be hard. So we do need to keep working together more closely than we ever have before. And I know the Australian UAE Business Council will play a central role in this collaboration and partnership. This is the first ever business council between our nations. It's hard to believe, actually, given the strength of relationship and the commerce that occurs. And it's very timely. Of course, Australia and the UAE have a strong economic relationship. That's not news. And we do so in part because we get each other, we understand each other, and importantly, we trust each other. We believe in open markets and the need to provide conditions for businesses to succeed. We believe in a business-led recovery of our economies, both here in Australia and in the UAE and around the world. We share a spirit of optimism and hope and an enviable capacity for innovation. And we know that trade is the key to our future prosperity. None of us gets rich selling things to ourselves. 1 in 5 Australian jobs relies on trade. And the UAE is our largest Middle East trading partner. Our businesses export high quality goods and services, supporting the Emirates' most prized industries. You sell premium cuts of Australian meat in your fine hotels and restaurants, which is what's demanded by your guests. Our construction experts help create the wondrous theme parks of Abu Dhabi and Dubai. And remarkable Australian technology keeps the windows of the towering Burj Khalifa clean and shiny. Today, there are over 350 Australian companies operating in the UAE, everything from steel trading to banking, freight services, marine manufacturing, and many more. Likewise, we welcome Emirati investment in Australia. The Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, one of the largest sovereign wealth funds in the world, has invested in our ports, our motorways, and our energy grids. And other UAE-based firms have entered our agribusiness, tourism, health, and aged care sectors. Just last month, 2 Abu Dhabi-based companies, Masdar and Tribe, signed up to a new energy from waste project at the Maryvale paper mill in Victoria. The project will divert some 325,000 tonnes of waste from landfill and reuse it to generate steam and electricity. How good's that? And expected to create 500 jobs, even better. These examples represent just the beginning of our wonderful partnership. Next year is the Golden Jubilee of the UAE, a great moment in history, with World Expo coming to Dubai. Like so much, it has been impacted by COVID, but I'm sure it can be a road marker for the world, a marker of hope in our global road to recovery. I'm pleased that Australian businesses are making major contributions to the Expo itself. I believe one of the opportunities before us is in agribusiness. We share similar climates, so we can learn from each other about managing water scarcity and growing food sustainably, sharing the latest innovations in aquaculture, urban farming, and hydroponics. We can also do more when it comes to the digital economy, the real game changer. COVID accelerated everything, with artificial intelligence, fintech, cloud computing, and e-commerce all creating huge opportunities. As technologically advanced economies, we're well placed to collaborate here. We are also seeing shared opportunities in education with the University of Wollongong and Murdoch University and Curtin University already setting up campuses in Dubai. But again, we can do so much more. I want our educational institutions to give young Emiratis and students across the Gulf region opportunities to gain experience in the Indo-Pacific region, a region which will define the world in the decades ahead. And our educational institutions can help provide a steady stream of trained professionals for the UAE's thriving knowledge-based economy. Aerospace, a relatively new industry for Australia, and the UAE is another area of massive potential. Our nations have bold ambitions, and we're committed to working together to achieve them. Early last year, the Australian Space Agency signed an agreement with its Emirati counterpart, which is driving cooperations in communications, robotics, technology, and space medicine. We're all like-minded partners as we look to grow our national space economies. Australia has a goal to triple the size of our space sector by 2030, and partnership with the UAE will be important for us to achieve this. Now, and the UAE is a shining example for Australia, breaking new ground globally, having launched a mission to Mars in July and sending its first astronaut into space in September. Now, these are truly historic achievements. And it's not just me who's excited about it. As the Prime Minister, the National Space Agency, the Australian Space Agency, is based in Adelaide, in Christopher's home city. And Premier Marshall, you will not find a more excitable person and passionate person when it comes to the development of the space industry in Australia than Premier Marshall. Only Trekkies, I think, have a more enthusiastic passion for space than Premier Marshall. He has really taken this up in a big way, and he's a huge part of the partnership which is making our space agency work. Australia is working hard to make sure our businesses can take advantage of all these opportunities, and we're working to eliminate the barriers. We're deregulating cross-border exchange with the simplified trade system reform agenda. We want to get rid of the unnecessary costs that are holding back our 56,000 exporters and 387,000 importers, many of which are doing business with the UAE and the wider Gulf region. As part of our job maker plan, we're starting a comprehensive overhaul of trade-related regulations. We're also starting work on a digital verification platform to move towards paperless trade internationally. And in the longer term, a trade single window to enable importers and exporters to tick off on any regulatory requirements in just one go. COVID-19 has played havoc with international freight routes, so we've also taken steps to help our agricultural and fisheries exporters move their produce into key overseas markets. The budget, which we handed down last month, provides more than $317 million to extend the temporary international freight assistance mechanism until the middle of next year. Now, this is helping to restore global supply chains and keep international freight routes and flights operating. I'm pleased that Emirates and Etihad are both supporting this initiative, helping to send fresh Australian produce like meat and seafood, fruit and veggies to the Emirati consumers. Now, in conclusion, of course, we've still got a lot to do to get through all of this. But when trouble strikes, mates help mates, as UAE has demonstrated to Australia over the course of this year and so many others. That's what we've done, and now is the time to take our partnership to the next level. I believe our relationship is full of possibility, and our people and businesses are eager to do the best they can and make the most of it. I'm very confident that the Australia UAE Business Council will open doors in the years ahead, and I'm very pleased to be with you to launch this new great venture. And I congratulate all of you for being part of it as we've kicked it off today, and look forward to its great success in the future. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
The Honourable Scott Morrison, Prime Minister of Australia, thank you so much for launching the Business Council, which will grow the business-to-business relationship between the UAE and Australia. I would like also to extend my heartfelt thanks to His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, Deputy Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, for believing that this relation is very important to the UAE, the relationship with Australia. And for His Highness Sheikh Abdulla bin Zayed Al Nahyan, our Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, who comes here every year, almost every year, not during COVID, but believes in the importance of this relationship and expanding this. I'd like to thank His Excellency Dr. Anwar Gargash, a mentor of mine, the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, who lent his support and for his speech earlier today. I would like to also thank another Excellency, His Excellency Ahmed Al-Saigh, Minister of State, for his endorsement of the Council and putting it in the priority for the year 2020. His Excellency Abdul Nasser Al-Shaali, Assistant Foreign Minister for Economic and Trade Affairs, who's soon to be a graduate from the Australian National University, his PhD, for his great team, including Jawahir Al-Meheri and Sara Al-Amira, also from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Casey Lam, of course, the Executive Director of the Australia UAE Business Council, has been great. Adam Howard, Adrian Vanelli, and of course Majiddin Khilawi, head of our economic section at the embassy, and all my staff. My fellow advisory board members, Alicia, David, and Jamie. Thank you to all the members present today from both sides who helped make this council a reality. Thank you again, Mr. Prime Minister, for your support. Christopher Pyne, this would have been a reality without you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Well, thank you very much to the Prime Minister for your time this afternoon. I know how busy you are. I really do know how busy you are. So thank you very much for your contribution, and it makes an enormous difference to the launch of the Australia UAE Business Council to have your heft and support from the government and from you personally. To His Excellency Abdulla Al-Subousi, thank you for your kind words. Thank you all very much for attending, and that is the end of the formalities. Thanks again to Adrian Temple for his support from Thompson Gear and Loretta Reynolds. And please enjoy a drink, a canapé, and a chat to each other. And please join me in thanking the Prime Minister once more for his attendance tonight. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.